nenge wadhi nagu. Wadhi woke we muito nagu. Hey. Hey everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Kalecha, Africa's best relationship podcast. Yes, it's where love finds a voice. My name is Kalecha Muma, and I'm so excited because we are now Africa's best relationship podcast as voted by the APVAs, and we had an amazing time. We won this trophy because you voted, because you said that you are enjoying this podcast, and we are so thrilled by the way you stood up for us. So this win is not just ours, it's yours. So congratulations to you too. Remember, if you want to chat with us, if you've missed any of the episodes, catch up on YouTube, on Spotify, on AfriPods, email us conversationswithkaleche@gmail.com. Now, you notice today my voice is sounding a bit iffy. Right here in Kenya, the weather has been all over the place. And so I'm coming out of a nasty flu. I'm just so happy that I have the voice to do this episode because, oh man, are we excited to have this chat with you. I'll tell you for sure, as the journey has been going, one of the things, even for us to see Africa nominate us as the best relationship podcast, has been the feedback from different Africans across the world. Yes, I said the world. We got this amazing email from a lady who is African. She's Zimbabwean, but based in Italy. And she said, look, guys, I have an amazing story I want to share with you. Can I be on the podcast? And we're like, oh yeah, the guys at Box, our directors, can make this happen. And we are now just about to have her on this episode just to prove to you that Africa is watching and listening. And this time she's coming to us all the way from New York. How about that? She is a remarkable woman who has had this journey with HIV and AIDS. And now she has stood out as a person who is living healthy, living her best life as she does everything. Activism, whether it's resilience. I mean, she has made room for her to have a family. She has children, 2 grown children, and she's professionally an economist working with the United Nations. And I just love, love, love her vibe. Welcome, Wadzani Garwe. It's so nice to have you here.
Good legend, twice around. Good morning from here. I know it's afternoon there.
It's afternoon here, but thank you for even making the time to wake up to have this conversation. You are such an amazing spirit. You know, when I got your email and I was like, oh, wow, this is a lady just telling me, look, I have been living with HIV and AIDS. And as you grow older, you realize even dating after all these years, it's 2024, it's still a hard time. So maybe you can give us a brief history of when you discovered you were HIV positive and your journey, because you have told us you have 2 grown children. Yeah.
Kaleche, it's one of those, you go through it and years later you're like, I actually went through that. So I had a friend of mine who was selling insurance, one of my girl pals. I want to support her side hustle. So I went and got this blood test. Oblivious. I was young. I was 26, right?
Yeah.
So she says, oh, all you've got to do is go have a blood test. And then a week later, they call you and everything. So there was no counseling. Nobody prepared me for this diagnosis. So I was actually I'd been out with my then boyfriend who became my husband, who is now my ex-husband.
Okay.
And I said, oh, let's just pass through and get my, insurance, and then I'll pay them, and it's, sharp.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, honey. I walked into that office and I was told you're HIV positive.
From a blood test, just a blood test to get insurance. And then they tell you, oh, by the way, we can't insure you. You are HIV positive. To your face?
To my face, unprepared. And it's like there are people, it's the last thing you think you're going to be told.
Yeah.
And you've been burying people. Remember, it's part of your life, but it's not, right? This was 1992, Kalechi. It was Zimbabwe. There were no antiretrovirals. God. They weren't even conceived yet, right?
That's a long time ago.
That's
a long time ago.
Years.
And
Yeah.
so, in that time, as you're getting this diagnosis, and it's out of the blue, your partner, that time, your boyfriend, I mean, did you tell him immediately? Did he get
He was
tested? What
there.
happened?
He was there.
Oh,
So he was right in the room with me. You know,
hmm,
beginnings of first love, everything is on the table. You're telling all
yes,
secrets. So
yes.
so so he was fantastic actually. He said, Wadzi, everybody dies. Everybody's gonna die
Wow,
one way or another. You might as well live, you know? So that
wow,
became our motto. We sort of trauma bonded. And our motto was, you might as well live, right? And
yeah,
honestly, it became, we ran away from Zim, went to Mozambique. My dad was a high official, so we didn't want him to find out, you know, young love. But
mm.
it's also trauma bonding. And we went to Mozambique, lived together in sin, as it's called. You know, my parents are very Catholic. So
Yes,
lived together in sin, you know, had the year, like 1993, I would say, was the trauma year, but it was also the best year because we just we were
you were living
fearless, you
fearless.
know?
You were doing what the young people called, this YOLO. You only live once, so just go with it. Whatever happens, happens. And so this boyfriend of yours was still in your life, and you don't have access to all these antiretrovirals that the treatments and things that we have now. And he was not afraid that he will contract it. People have such very drastic reactions to such a diagnosis. So how did you guys continue in your relationship?
He was amazing. I mean, honestly, can I just say that you should look at when people come into your life and the reason they
Mm-hmm.
come into their life, right? They
Yeah,
might
yeah.
not be there for the continuation of your life, but at
Mm-hmm.
that moment, they gave you a message that you needed to hear. I got the
Yeah.
message that I needed to hear, which was live,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So
mm.
that's what we did. We
Yeah,
lived, right?
yeah,
And it
yeah,
was, and you live because you're on the edge, right? You can't tell anyone. So, Kalechi, step back a bit. When I had
yeah.
found out that I was HIV positive, I
Mm-hmm.
spiraled. I couldn't tell anyone. I couldn't tell my parents. I was the eldest daughter. I'm the best thing that's ever happened. They've invested
Oh,
all this money in me. I've gone to college in the United States.
oh my.
Yo, can you imagine the narrative and
So
then expecting my
then,
parents to say,
then you tell them, Ati, now I have this thing, and then now I'll be the shame of the family as it would be perceived. So you didn't tell your parents?
I told nobody. I told my sister who was 21. She was 4 years younger than me. I was 26, turning 26, and she was turning 21. And I just went to her work. This poor thing, she came downstairs to see her sister, you know, in these official corporate. And I just
Yes,
dumped my life on her. I'm like, here's my checkbook. There used to be checkbooks then.
yes.
Here's, I have this account, I have that account. Oh, and by the way, I have HIV. Yeah.
And then you leave. And
And
that's
then
how
I
you guys
leave.
left.
And I leave. I did a mic drop and I exited stage left.
And wait, hang on. So your sister, did you make her do like a blood promise not to tell your parents? What did you do?
No, I think we weren't even there, right? We weren't even at the point of blood promise, or
Just shock.
it was just shock. And then we were running away with my ex-husband. So, we were in this adrenaline infused,
Yes.
the world is our oyster, we're going to do it. We
Yes.
literally border jumped to go to Mozambique. We didn't go through the border. We went
You
up the mountain and across.
okay. Okay. So on top of everything, you've border jumped because your dad is an official. And so you don't want anybody to have any clue where you've gone. You've dumped on your younger sister. And then you go and you guys are living like you don't care. Every day is the last day of your life. So
Every day
YOLO.
is that we're YOLO, YOLO, YOLO. And then my ex-husband says to me, oh, we're on a beach, coconut drink with vodka in it or something,
Yeah.
high as kites, right? And he says, would you still marry me? And I said, oh yeah, sure, maybe, like simple.
Yeah.
And for him,
Yeah.
that was his proposal. I wasn't
Okay.
told though. I didn't get the memo, right? And then he goes and does the cultural bride price with my parents. Kaleche, in all of this, they're all talking to each other. They're having one happy conversation. And they forgot me, the person they're conversing about, to include me in the conversation.
Wait, 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 wait. So now that he proposes in highness, you kind of say, yeah, okay. And the next thing is he finds your family and starts telling them, by the way, I'm the one with your daughter and I want to marry her. Where can I pay the bride price? And he's not consulted you about, by the way, I was serious about this beach proposal. And at this time, your parents now are discovering where you are.
So my parents had discovered where I am because my sister discovered where I was, right?
Okay.
She did 6 months. My sister, if you need an investigator, if your husband's cheating, my sister will find you my sister she's Agatha Christie, Poirot, she's all those things.
Wow.
Miss Marple.
Yeah.
So she had found me. She called, asked about me. I was working at this NGO and we burst into tears and we talked. And, my mother actually said,
Oh.
I have mourned you, my daughter. I'll never mourn you again.
Oh, because she
That's what
didn't
my
know
mother.
where you
Remember, they don't
were.
know that I'm HIV positive. Nobody knows
Then
why this happened.
they are mourning that you had run away and they didn't know where you were. They don't know there's an even heavier thing that you're carrying.
Exactly.
Hey,
So
Wadzanai.
I called my mom to finish the story of the bride price and everything. I called my mom. I'm in Maputo. We were living in Mozambique. So I was learning Portuguese. So I was getting a
Yeah.
full immersion course. So I called my mom in December, and I was like, Mom, I'm not feeling great. And my mom says, oh, you might be pregnant. But before she says that, my sister says, oh, we're married. She says, oh, congratulations, we're married. And I'm like, who is we?
And where are
Who?
they? Where are
She
they?
says, no, I picked money for you because you know when you get married, you if you say yes, you pick some money to show that
Yeah.
no, I'm with this guy. She said, I'm the one that picked the money. We are married. You, Wadzanai, are married. I was like, huh? Wait a minute. So now that's when my mom comes on, and I'm half telling her about how I feel in my stomach. I'm
Yes,
half
but
trying to make
also,
sense of this. She's so
yes.
happy. My dad comes on the phone. Everybody's happy. And I'm like, it's like watching a movie and everybody's laughing and you
And
don't
you
know
don't know
what
what
they're
they're laughing
laughing.
about? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then he comes on the phone and I'm like, what the? And he's like, yeah,
Oh,
you said yes, remember? I said yes. When? He's
oh
like,
my
when we were on the
gosh.
beach. And I'm like, that was.
That was the proposal. And then the fact that he went on to have this conversation with your family. I mean, I don't know how it is in Zimbabwe, but at least for us in Kenya, if you're going to come and pay bride price, I have to be at least included in front of your relatives to be asked, do you know these people? Do you something? I have to be present. It can't happen without me being involved. So for you, they kind of were just excited.
I think they just decided that we are not sure about this girl. So let's just make sure the ceremony goes on so that it's a fait accompli for her. I think
Uh,
that's
uh,
because I have no other explanation. I don't even know the date of my bride price. I don't know when it was paid.
Nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So hang on. Okay. So bride price has come, parents are happy, sister's excited, and you're feeling queasy. So your mother says, maybe perhaps you're
You're
pregnant.
pregnant.
So what happens to you at this point, knowing that you're carrying another diagnosis nobody knows about?
I am scared to the
Hmm.
end of my wits. I am so
Hmm.
afraid. But now my mom knows, right? And then I have to go and get the pregnancy test, and I am pregnant. And then, of course, because my mom is absolutely Catholic, she's like, there's no marriage that's happening out of wedlock. We're having a wedding.
Now, before that baby comes, we're doing it. Oh my gosh.
Kalechi,
Okay.
we are
Ma
now. So my parents, again, I'm not there. I'm working in Mozambique, right? My
right.
parents planned a wedding in 4 months. Remember, this is December 2020,
Jeez.
1993. In April, on
Jeez.
the April 16th of April, 1994, I was married. I was walked down the aisle. I was
Oh,
married. They arranged a wedding in 3.5 months.
your whole life seems to have been happening to you, not, like you're not living it, but it's happening to you. And so you still go ahead though. That's something I must say. Interestingly, you didn't stop it. Maybe is it because you were the carrying of the diagnosis was heavier than the things that were going on? Why did you
Absolutely. And
continue?
at that point, the headspace, remember that this is so I discover I'm HIV positive. We've been living our best lives,
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
get used to the
Through this.
diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's not affecting just me and possibly my ex-husband. I'm bringing a life into this world. There's
Correct.
no there's no space for conversation, Kaleche, because if I have
Mm,
that conversation, I then have to have all the other conversations with everybody else. And I'm not
right.
prepared to do that, right?
My
The
gosh.
world is not prepared to do that because the world is saying HIV is a death sentence. So
Right.
the minute that I make it, I speak it out, I make it real.
It's everything kind of just will change immediately. Your life, it will feel like it's over even before it
Yeah.
started.
So if I'm in denial and I pretend it's not happening,
Then it's not
then
happening.
then it's not happening, right? And remember, I'm 26, guys. I'm not like this wise 58-year-old
No, no,
who's
no,
now just no. I'm
no.
26. All I know
Wow.
is boyfriends, music, and
Fun.
party. You know.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
yeah. But now I'm having to take on the mantle of motherhood. I'm not prepared for
Mm.
it. There's no way I'm ready. And all I'm thinking is if I give my child HIV, I'm killing him.
Wow. Let's just unpack that a little bit now. Because I'm just imagining when you don't have people to share things with. For me, my survival tactic is I need to tell everyone everything, because if I tell them, it's no longer just my burden. That's me. I tell everybody everything and then I go so here you're carrying this, and then there's a child that you are carrying that needs you to be healthy. Do you go to the doctors and say what happens? Are you thinking of terminating? Like, what are the thoughts?
I I had terminated once. I'd had an abortion once, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
that was when I started dating. But this was before I knew the diagnosis. It was
Right.
just too soon for me to have a child. I was like, I'm having too much fun right now to become a mother. And
You
honestly, we had
can't.
just started dating with my
Yeah.
ex-husband. There was no way.
Yeah.
We didn't even know each other, right? So
Right.
I had
Okay.
had a termination. But now I'm legitimate, remember? Now even my mother knows I
Yes.
might be pregnant, you
Yes.
know? The other one,
Yes.
it was all in secret. Nobody knew except me and the doctor and my friend
And
who
the
arranged
guy.
it. But here now, I need to now be honest with. So again, conversations I can't have. I can't have it with the doctor. I can't even be honest with my own doctor
Oh my
because he
gosh.
will freak out, right?
So you didn't tell your OBGYN that you
And
have a
I just had
diagnosis
a
that he
GP. This is Mozambique. There's no
ah
OBGYN. I think there's one in Maputo somewhere. There's no you OB. You are, registering.
I
When
have
I
to
said, my
remember
mom
when it
says, have
is.
you registered?
It's a
And
long
I
time
said,
ago.
registered where? She says, at the
Hmm.
clinic. I said, oh, okay, mom. Yeah. I can't even tell her there's no clinic to register.
Oh
This
my
is a
God.
post-conflict country.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so, so no, those were not conversations. I was having that conversation with myself. I couldn't even have it with my ex-husband because then it's like, oh, is that all we talk about? Is that the only
All right,
conversation we have?
right. Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So what happens now about this child? What are the steps you
I have
take?
this child, and he's born
Mm,
and he's beautiful, and I cannot take him for a blood test. I could not do it. I was like, Kaleche, how do I find out that I've given this child this virus? So for 6 months, I'm watching him like a hawk. I'm watching him like it's my job, you know?
yeah, yeah.
And then I have to go and get a blood test. You have to go and do all the stuff, registry. And he was negative.
Oh, we thank God.
Kaleche, I'm not a religious person. I made a deal with God. I was like, no more children. I promise. I will
Mm.
keep my part of. If you keep him alive,
I'm not doing this again.
I'm not doing this again.
Because the anguish, the tension, the anxiety, and you are carrying all this weight by yourself. Wadzanai, that's a lot. And you're still working and you're
You're
still smiling
full
as
time,
a wife. You're a
full
wife.
showing up as a wife, showing up as, and now I've got to show up as a mother, right? And remember,
Mm,
when we married each other, my ex-husband was all about we're having fun. This whole now having children thing, that's a
has become
completely
serious. Oh,
different
Lolo.
conversation. This is another conversation. And fast forward 1997. So 1994 we're married.
Yeah,
1994 July we have our son, beautiful boy,
right.
who's 30 years
Yeah.
old now.
Oh,
And
wow.
then 1997 my father drops dead by
No.
surprise. He was 59 years old.
Oh, no.
Remember, Kalechi, I've made this deal with God,
With
no
God.
more children. I've put in no plant, this,
Mm,
stuff you
prevention,
put in
everything.
so that there's no problems. And then my dad dies and I bleed for 6 weeks. I'm just bleeding. And I had to go to Botswana for work and I'm just bleeding. I get to the airport in Harare. I think I was white as a sheet when I got out because my sister said, I'm taking you straight to the
To the
hospital.
hospital.
What is going on? So I said to her, no, I've been bleeding all this time. And she said, no, 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 no. So I went to the hospital. They did immediately, the DNC, as they call it, where they clean out the womb and
The
everything.
womb. Yeah.
And then they said to me, please make sure that you wear a condom. You are very, very fertile now. Because I hadn't had any blood flowing for 2 years. I
Yeah.
had put this
Yeah.
long-term birth
Yeah.
control, you know?
Yeah. And the side effects now have come full circle, and you have to be careful. You can't use it anymore.
And I tell
Wow.
my ex-husband, so we have to be careful. The man decides, oh, I have something to control. So he stealthed me. And stealthing, Kaleche, is when a man removes a condom when you're having sex to
And you have no
deliberately make
idea.
you pregnant.
So you get pregnant again.
And now, my dear, I can't, right? If I couldn't with the first one, this one, I knew, I always say this, I knew the minute I was pregnant. And I immediately went into denial. I can't be pregnant. It's not possible. I made a deal
But
with God.
your body is telling you these are the signs you're pregnant. You can feel it. Now, how are you managing your status at this through all of this? Are you on medication? What was
There
happening?
was no medication. So I was just eating well. I always say to people, for me, my HIV story is one of 90% nutrition and
Wow.
10% medication.
It wow.
I do not put anything in my mouth that is bad for me. Well, apart from alcohol.
Mm, okay. Okay. So your food, you're very cautious about the type of foods you eat, and
I
you eat the
am
high value foods that
high
are
value
good
and
for you.
I will come to Kenya and say, okay, what's your traditional foods? How do you grow
That's
them? Those are the ones I want because they
okay.
have the most
Okay.
nutrition. They have the
So it
most
is
nutritional
possible.
value.
it is possible to actually control and maintain yourself that way. And so this disease at this point has not taken you out. You have not gotten to a point where you are, extremely ill.
I
No.
never fell into AIDS during that time.
Okay.
I did get AIDS after a very bad car accident, which was in
Okay.
2003.
Okay.
And that's when I fell to my CD count went below 200. So when your CD4 count, which is the viral load in your body, falls
Right.
beyond 200, you have full-blown AIDS. So mine fell to 4.
Mm,
4.
mm.
So I'm a miracle of science. That's what
I
I
love that
am.
you say that. I love that you say that. Now, tell me about how, you've talked about this car accident. What was a car accident about? And at which point did you and your husband break up? What happened?
I think this was a huge red flag.
Okay.
Looking back, Kaleche, the car
Mm-hmm.
accident was a huge red flag
Mm-hmm.
because I discovered after many years that it was a staged car accident. I had actually been battered by my ex-husband to the point that he broke my ulna, he broke my
Oh my.
clavicle, and I had like glass
Oh.
through this eye because he was like hitting me against the side window. So I would never have said I was a victim of domestic violence ever. Like it was, I used to say to people, no, I'm a professional woman, economist,
Excuse me. Wait.
and
So
because I
he had never been violent before or
no,
anything.
no.
So what
No, let's not
happened?
say he had never. His words were violent,
Okay,
right?
so he was emotional abuse was
Yes,
existent at
yes,
some point in the relationship,
yes.
but it didn't have anything to do with your diagnosis. So it was what was happening. I mean, is it you were progressing, or you had now become serious and he
I think
wasn't? What was happening?
a number of things. It was
Mm-hmm.
on his side just a refusal to acknowledge that fatherhood has come now.
Okay.
These
Okay.
children need to be looked after. Whatever
Yeah.
else you're doing, it's
This is
time.
it.
I
Yeah.
think it was also the feeling emasculated because I was progressing in my career. I'm now set. I'm now like, when a girl becomes a woman, right?
Right.
And you
Yeah.
settle into yourself and you're like, this is the life path I have for me. Are
Mm-hmm.
you coming or aren't you? Because
Are
this
you? Yeah.
train,
It's
it's
left the
left the
station.
station. So I think these are the issues that he was grappling with. I'm
Mm,
assuming in his head now, right?
right.
And I just think this desire to be perfect. We are the children of very important people in our country, right? So we're almost the mini celebrities, if you want. So people are living
Mm.
their lives through us.
And
So
so
I
your life has
think
to be perfect. And
yes,
so,
yes,
okay.
and because you're out there, invariably our mothers and everybody are all about that life out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't make me look bad out there, right?
Right. Got you.
You know?
Images must be maintained. We must sustain the look that everybody expects us to have. But inside the home, he's not happy with how you're progressing. So it
And I
starts with
think,
emotional abuse.
I
Mm.
think you see, he starts to fall behind, right?
Okay.
He's the reason. So the reason that we are trauma bonded was no longer a bond anymore because there's 4 of us
Mm.
now, right?
Yeah.
And we've got to now plan for. There's not just 2. We
It's a
we we now
family.
have a whole family, and we have to plan for this family. People
Mm.
need
Mm.
medical aid. They need
Mm.
shoes. They need clothes.
They need to go to school, Yeah, life is happening, it's moving.
So
And
so
so,
so at that time as well. So I had my first child when I was 28 and the second
right.
at 32. So
Mhm.
Kalechi, I'm also at the height of a woman's busiest period, right?
Correct. Mm.
In terms of my career, I'm trying to progress and prove that even with two pregnancies, I'm still relevant. I'm
Yeah.
still, you know, I can do it
Things
all.
you're doing, you can do it all. And
Exactly.
so and so he starts to change, he starts to become emotionally abusive. And you say that by the time this staged car accident happened, you didn't even know? How didn't you know?
I, you know, I honestly believe that given my experience, everybody else knows and tries to protect you. So everybody tries to deal with it before it gets to the point where you need to know,
Okay.
right? Because
Okay.
when you finally walk away, you hear all the stories about how he was confronted, how, the people staged interventions, you know?
Oh.
So I think what happens is my family tried to intervene, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Before I finally found out. And so and the thing is, Kaleche, for me, what was soul destroying, I think, more than the betrayal and he's cheating on me and everything, is the fact that I would get a yeast infection all the time. If I
Oh
slept with him,
no.
I have a yeast infection. So I even got used to having the suppositories, the pills, everything. It became part of my arsenal of medications, right? And
Gosh.
can I tell you that since I've left that man, in 2014, I have never had another yeast infection, ever.
So he was actually going out there having unprotected sex with other people, knowing full well he's married to somebody he accepted, took as is HIV positive, needs to be protected, and coming and putting you in a position where your life could end.
Yeah,
Oh
he could have
my.
killed me. And that's the statement of fact.
Yeah.
That's the moment I think that I had to ask myself, right? Who is the person that you love most in this world? It's got to be
Mm,
you. Because honestly, nobody can love you the way that you love you, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
And Kaleche, it's the most heartbreaking thing is when you, because as I was brought up by a father who adored me, right?
Mm.
I was brought up by parents that adored me. So I did not understand not being adored. It wasn't a concept in my reality,
Aha.
right?
Okay. Right.
Um, Not being loved was something that was, I was the eldest granddaughter. I was all these
So
things. All my love, all I'd
the
ever
love had been
known
consistent
was
all
love,
around.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now I'm having to, and remember our parents' generation, they did not separate, they did not divorce.
Yep.
They
They
could be
stayed no matter
living,
what. Oh, yeah.
so I'm going to be the first one of my people to step outside this thing called marriage. And but also legislatively, Kaleche, women could not take birth certificates or any identity document
Documents
for their children
without the
until
husband.
2010 by themselves. You needed a man's signature to take the child you brought out of your womb a document for them. Like, who knows this child more than the woman who carried her?
Yeah, that patriarchy thing was too much. So you held on, held on, held on. Then this accident, staged accident, was him battering you? Did he drug you? Did he get you drunk? What did he do?
No, I think my brain literally erased it from my memory. It was
It was
just
that bad.
too, it was too much. It was too extreme. It was something that was so out of the ordinary that my brain was like, no, this cannot be true. We'll just, I could not remember any of this until I did hypnosis in 2020.
You're joking.
And
Just
during
4 years
the
ago,
hypnosis, yeah,
that's when you discover that you were actually battered and left there for dead. Because that, I mean, if he broke bones in you, your eye was cut in half. You told me your eye had glass.
yes, they had to pick out glass and then laser the eye. And I mean, Kaleche, there is no, and remember, your mind has, so my mind did this, it opened, it saw what was
Close.
out there, and it was like, nah, shut down.
Close.
So remember, as I'm recovering, my mind is like, no, this man could never do this, right? And remember, there's a staged accident. So we are all talking accident. So there's no, and he would be the one who
Ah,
would say,
okay.
people are saying I tried to kill you. Why would I try to kill you? And I'd be like, well, who's saying that?
Also, he reversed psychology. He was ready for it. And so everything, even the reports were saying it was just a bad car accident. But, I'm here for you. He was even there.
He was even in his own way there, right?
And so that is the time you got full-blown AIDS.
That's the time when, after the accident, actually, a few months later, I got full-blown pneumonia. And the pneumonia you get is like this, it's like having cotton wool in your lungs, the one that's related to HIV. So I couldn't breathe. And I didn't have a temperature. I had none of the signs of pneumonia. I just couldn't breathe. Like I literally could not take a breath.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Kaleche, I put myself in a matatu. I was in Tanzania. I put myself into a taxi, got the driver to drive. Remember, when you can't breathe, you can't talk. So
Yeah, so you can't
got
even
him to get
explain.
me, just got to the Aga Khan hospital, got out, got into a wheelchair, and I told them, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. So they put me on oxygen. But because it took them 3 days to discover what was wrong with me, I got worse. I got the fever, I got pneumonia, I got everything. So I was CD4 count. I was full-blown AIDS. And the doctor comes in and he looked so petrified, right? And I thought, okay, I must be dying. He looks so, and he says, I have to tell you something that's going to change your mind, your life. And I thought, what could possibly change like in my head. And he said, you're HIV positive. Oh, Kaleche, I packed out laughing. Poor man.
You burst out laughing because you knew. None of your medical files said it. Nobody else knew it, but you knew it. Poor doctor.
And the poor doctor, he looked at me like I was great. And I said, oh, is that all? Oh, I know. And I said, come here. I gave him a hug. I said, I'm sorry. Yes, I knew. And because he wanted now to ask permission to start me on the treatment, on the ARVs.
Yeah.
Because they were there now, but he needed my permission to be able to
treat
zap
you
me
and everything.
And and literally they zapped me and I'm still here and I'm still going.
Wow. So 2 children who are negative, this happens and fast forward to now, because obviously you discovered that this relationship was not good for you and you're out of it. How has life been living with HIV and dating now? How has that been?
Kaleche, I learned the term ghosting from dating with HIV. Ay. You have never been ghosted so fast as when you tell somebody you're HIV positive. Those men are out like it's their job. It's as if
Whoa.
It's as if we're still in those 80s,
where there's no help, there's no medication, there's no way out.
Where I tell people all the time, I am undetectable. I've been undetectable since I started taking my ARVs. You cannot find the virus in my body. As long as I'm taking my ARVs, I cannot give you HIV. right? I'm undetectable.
Right.
I can't pass on the virus. Undetectable is
Mm,
untransmissible, right?
mm,
What people need to understand is, though, I do need to be consistent in taking my medication. I can never stop
right.
taking the medication.
Right.
That's for life.
Yeah.
Because the virus still lives in my body. It's just being suppressed by
Suppressed.
the medication. But I
Right.
cannot give you HIV if we have unprotected sex. Now, I won't have unprotected sex with you because the highest demographic that's getting STDs and STIs, which are sexually transmitted in diseases, 50s. People in their 50s are out there in these streets.
And they're misbehaving all over the place. Oh my goodness. Who would have thunk that?
Who would have
So
thunk it?
for sure, you know, you'd imagine that it's the young people only, but the older people are being reckless. And so now here you are, you
So,
want
so
to
I
date
would,
again.
yeah.
Do you want to date?
I'm trying. I've been on dating sites. I've even
Hmm.
been on one of people who are living with HIV. Oh no, nasty. That one was nasty. That one was just, these men look
There's
like they're
wait,
dying. They
there's a whole site, a whole
there's a
app
whole
for people
site
who
for people. But these men are looking for, they're not looking for a wife, they're looking for a nurse. No, thank you. I am
oh
too
my
healthy to
goodness.
do that. So now I'm really looking into referrals and my friends finding
Hmm.
me people
Okay.
because honestly, the serial rejection is hard to take. Like
Right.
it's at first you're like, oh, am I actually being ghosted? Like this man has completely
And
like
just
left.
because you said,
I'm
I want to let you know
Yeah,
who I am. I'm HIV positive. So people
yeah.
in 2024 still don't understand that being HIV positive does not mean you have full blown AIDS and you cannot transmit for so long as you're living a healthy life. And so the men out there are being, instant rejection, poisonous men because they are
Immediately.
uninformed and yet educated.
Exactly. And you know what's really sad is for somebody like me, I'm 58. I've had a relationship, right?
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
I've
yeah.
been I've been able to do all this. What about the child that was born with AIDS, HIV, right?
Yeah, who
What about that
didn't have a
child who
life.
had nothing to
Yeah.
do with getting the HIV? How do you then reject them? Right?
Right,
And this is
right.
the issue, is destigmatizing this thing. I am so much healthier, Kalete, than you are sitting on that couch. I can tell you I am healthy. I can tell you my status any given moment. I can tell you right now I need a little tweaking of my vitamin D, right? Right
Oh my
now,
goodness.
sweetheart, I am healthy. And I know it because I have
You've been
blood
taking
tests
care of
every six
yourself.
months.
Yeah.
I am in consistent conversation with my doctors. I'm doing my health very, very intentionally, right?
Mm,
Which a lot of
mm.
people are not.
That's
If
true.
I were to ask you right now, have you checked, when was the last time you checked your blood pressure? What's your thyroid
Yeah.
function?
My who?
Yeah.
My what?
My what? So this is why I'm saying that for me, I can confidently say I am healthier than a lot of the people, even when they look
Mm.
healthy, even if they're going to the gym,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, because I am so intentional about what I eat and
Hmm.
and not only that, what I put in my hair, because everything all those things
From top to bottom.
from top to
Top to
bottom.
bottom. So then right now, what's the one thing that you wish people would be sensitive to, especially in the dating scene with people who are living with HIV? What would you want them to know, and how would you want them to actually open up to understanding where you are?
Well, firstly, don't ghost the person who's been the most vulnerable with
To
you
tell
that
you,
they can
yeah.
be, right? So this is the most vulnerable moment for anybody. But you're telling a person who's a stranger, who's becoming a friend, that, look, this is something I have. Just become their friend for a while. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
romantic, right?
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
just date them for a while. Just be compassionate enough to continue as if this were a normal date, right? Because you
Mm.
know what? You might actually like them. You might actually find that this is the person that
This
you've
is a
been
nice
looking for,
person.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And the second thing is exercise compassion. You know,
Hmm.
if you know that this diagnosis you can't do it, at
Hmm.
least be honest with
And
this person
say
and say,
it.
I'm sorry. I tried, but that diagnosis just, because at least that person is not blaming themselves
Right.
and sitting
Right.
there going, what is it about me that's wrong?
Yeah,
Right?
because again, you don't see yourself as your HIV status. You see yourself as more. You're a woman who does this, that. You're fun. You're this. You're not your status. You're more. So yeah,
Exactly.
I get that. Yeah.
So honestly, get yourself educated. You know,
Mm.
HIV, I when I was taking the pills for my daughter, I had to take them for 6 months, 3 months before giving birth and 3 months after. I was taking 14 pills, those jawbreakers, 3 times a day, Kalechi.
Whoa.
Now I take one pill once a day. Like,
Only
look at,
one pill.
imagine. And they've even now got an injectable. They've got, I mean, just educate yourself.
Right.
Before you open your mouth and show your ignorance, just
Yeah.
go read up. UNAIDS has a whole site on what's going
Mm.
on in HIV and AIDS. You know,
Wow. Yeah. And their
don't be
leaps
the,
and
I
bounds.
can't be the
Yeah.
ignorance fixer all the time. You know, I don't want to be
It's
a
too much.
teacher but with somebody that I want to be a lover with. You know what I mean? That's just
I
not,
hear you. I
it's
hear you.
not
It's
kinky
not
enough.
on. No, it's not on. Ah, but yeah. I mean, but Wadzanai, I think you are truly a statement of being able to live with something that's so heavy and so big, but still be so joyful, still be so happy. So I'm like, this is a nice woman to meet. This is a nice woman to be friends with. I want to be friends with her. Give her a chance. She's been through life. And after a certain age, you're like, I don't have time for fun and games. If you're here, be here. If you're not, I'd rather be alone. And I hear that. I would say to you, thank you so much for being so brave, because not so many would share their status. I mean, if we have people who have a problem with when they just hear, I have cancer or I've had cancer, and they shy away. HIV has been around for so long. There's so many different ways and leaps and bounds that the health has been improved. It's sad that in 2024, you still have a problem dating. But I'm hoping after being on this show, somebody somewhere is going to write to me and say, hey, can I meet her? Can you
Oh,
hook me up?
he will have a lot of fun. That's
Oh,
for
there you
sure.
go. That's for sure. That's for sure. But thank you so much, Wadzanai, for taking the time to be on this show, to share yourself so vulnerably and to tell us your story. I wish we could go on and on, but time is also limiting us. But please keep on being you, keep on being the CEO of your life. And I can't wait to hear when you start dating, how it's gonna be, because I know it's
You will
coming.
hear step by step, honey, because I need guidance now. I don't know how to do
Uh,
this anymore.
oh
You
man,
know?
I don't know if I'm the best person, but we'll help each other out.
I just
Thank you
have
so
one thing
much,
I'd like
girl.
people to
Yeah.
remember, Kaleche, and
Yes.
I say this to everybody.
Yes.
Be compassionate with yourself. Be kind.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive yourself, you know,
Mm.
because it's not you as well. It's you were going through this. I have to forgive 26-year-old Wadzi, right? I
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
forgive 28-year-old Wadzi. I have to forgive 32-year-old Wadzi. It took me until 50 to admit to the world that I was HIV positive. So please attend to your basic needs with compassion. Compassion, be kind to yourself. And no, not everyone needs a memo, you know? Nobody,
Mm.
telling people your HIV is also, it can be dangerous to you. You can lose your work, your job.
Yeah.
Some people
Yeah.
just still have that stigma. So
Yeah.
also read the room before you go telling people, do what's safe for you to do.
And take
I
care of
feel
you.
safe enough to say I'm HIV positive. I feel I'm okay with that. But not everybody has to be. So that's
Okay.
my final message. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Guys, hasn't it been a fantastic time with Wadzani Garwe? She is Zimbabwean. She's based in Italy, currently in New York, and we are so thrilled that Africa is part of our conversations here on Conversations with Culture, where love finds a voice. And our hope is that she does eventually get to meet somebody. But right now, we got to wrap this up. Hope to hear from you guys soon. Drop us an email, conversationswithculture@gmail.com. I'd like to give a big shout out to my Delish full service for the makeup and hairdo, and of course to Deep Colors for this amazing fit. Thank you so much, guys. Would love to hear your comments. Keep talking to us, and we'll catch you next time. Remember, this is where love finds a voice. Take care.